Hello and welcome back to Billy Ho Sports. We're covering all the stakes action this weekend, and we're heading up to New York for Aqueduct, Belmont at the Big A. Big weekend of racing up there. 4 graded stakes on tap for you, and the summer is just heating up. We'll have Saratoga kicking off next week. Later on this month at Monmouth Park is going to be a Breeders' Cup Challenge, the Haskell Stakes. So subscribe to the channel. Set that notification bell so you don't miss any of the great racing content. Also, clicking that like button really goes a long way toward getting my content across the YouTube algorithms, as they say. So I really do appreciate the support from everyone. We're going to do 3 of the 4 stakes. They're small fields, and I'm going to save the Belmont Oaks for a separate video, so stay tuned for that. Let's get started. Race number 2 on the card is going to be the Grade 3 Dwyer Stakes. That's 1 mile on the dirt for 3-year-olds. And it is a little disappointing to have these small fields, 4-horse, 5-horse fields for such important stakes races. I'm not really sure what the whole story is on that. But post number 1 is going to be Bilal. Bilal is trained by Bill Mott. Junior Alvarado rides. Still looking for a signature win from this one, and it might come here. Recently ran 3rd, going 6.5 furlongs, earning a nice 97 Brisnet rating. He chased the leaders aggressively down the stretch. Also has some pretty good early speed to be on the lead as well. So good chance in a small field, obviously. Number 2 is Hades. That's Joe Orseno trained. Paco Lopez rides. 3rd by 11 lengths in the Pegasus, 5 lengths behind Domestic Product, another 5 or 6 behind Tuscan Sky, who took the previous horse and him to task in that 8.5 furlong route race. So Domestic Product is next, post number 3. Like I said, I meant to say Hades and Domestic Product. Obviously, Bilal did not run in that race. I think I might have said that wrong, but we'll cut that out. Anyway, back to Hades. Trained by Joe Orseno. Paco Lopez rides 3rd by 11 lengths in the Pegasus, 5 lengths behind Domestic Product. Tuscan Sky took those 2 to task in that 8.5 furlong route race. Hades was completely outrun. 3rd place behind 5 lengths behind the 2nd place, which was another 6 lengths. So I don't really like Hades. I don't think he's fast enough. I think he just got away with that 1 win in Florida because it was such a slow pace. Got out on the lead and wasn't able to catch him. That hasn't happened for him since. Domestic Product, I kind of feel similarly about. Chad Brown is the trainer. Flavian Pratt rides. As we discussed in the Pegasus, he was outrun down the stretch as well. He was clearly the 2nd best horse that day. But my knock on him was he didn't have enough early speed, but he did show pretty good early speed in this one, just lacked that punch down the stretch that Tuscan Sky had. So I wouldn't be surprised if Domestic Product ran down this field, but somewhat similar to Catching Freedom in the Ohio Derby. I don't know that he's going to be able to close. So post number 4 is Save the Trees, trained by Mike Maker, ridden by Irad Ortiz. This one is cross-entered in the Iowa Derby, so I did already cover this in a previous race or a previous video. Making just his 3rd start, 2 for 2 sprinting so far. I like the chances on an off track. I think the weather is calling for some heavy rains on Saturday, so we might see some sloppy track. We might even see some of these races off the turf. I don't know. We'll have to see. But Save the Trees is definitely one to watch, and I kind of hope he goes here because I think this is his best chance to win. I don't think he has much of a chance in the Ohio Derby, so I like to see him running this one. Let's check out the past performances and see if we can find anything in a deep dive. All right, race number 2. We are going 1 mile. It is a Grade 3, $200,000 purse, 1 mile out of the chute. So you got a long sprint to that first 1 big loop turn. And then so you have Belial, like I said, ran that sharp 97 speed figure. I like this distance for him. A mile seems like a good distance. Had some success in the past as a 2-year-old, going 7 furlongs and off tracks. You can see muddy and good down here. So if we do have an off track, I think he's got a good chance to run well. 20% clip winning rail post. So you got Bill Mott, obviously a monster in the stakes rankings, and Junior Alvarado having a solid meet. So that's that one. And then you can see Hades here. They did run a better paced race, and he got beaten by 11 lengths, 19 lengths, 19 lengths. The only time he scored was in this minus 23, minus 15, 25, 50 pace. So he wins by 2. The same thing with domestic product, 25 and 50, 25, 51, neck in second place. Anything faster, 46, 46, he's getting beat. So I do think that he can win this race, but I'm not going to bet on him if it's really low odds, like your 4 to 5 even money type. I'd have to have 2 to 1 or better probably. But with a 4-horse field, you're not going to get that. Not with Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt. Chad Brown at Aqueduct and Pratt 24% jockey. So I mean that combo alone could be enough to get him above over the hump here. But Save the Trees, this is the one that I had some interest in. Pretty good 89 speed rating, improved from the last one. 96, you can see the improvement in the middle, and didn't need as much late kick to get it done here. But Mike Maker taking over for Wayne Mackey on April 19th. So he's had a couple of months with this horse to get him good to go. Cracked it right out of the gate, running a pretty fast fractions, 21:44 at 6 furlongs. So if he can make the stretch out to this mile long distance, which I think he can with a 7.1, that's pretty close to average. And I love the 23% mud with only 44 mud starts if we have an off track. So Save the Trees moves up to a win bet, I think, in my opinion, and would probably be your 4th choice out of 4 horses. So we ought to be able to get some decent odds on that horse. So let's go ahead and finalize our selections for the first race. So I am looking at Belial, but like I said, I think I'm going to save a win bet for the Save the Trees number 4 if the track is muddy. And I'm just taking a stand against those 2 middle horses that everybody knows the names of that's going to take all the money, in which is Hades and especially Domestic Product. So but Domestic Product could win the race, and I won't be shocked by that because on paper, he's probably should be the best horse. But I'm going against in this one. So let's move on to the next. Race number 6 is going to be the Belmont Derby. That's 9.5 furlongs on the outer turf for 3-year-olds. Post number 1 is Legend of Time. A legend in his own right. Charlie Appleby is the trainer, and William Buick rides. That combo right away tells me a lot. Very, very strong connections for this turf race. Recently won the Pennine Stakes at Aqueduct and on this track. Had to fight around some traffic issues, got stuck inside around the final turn and waited for room. But once it cleared out for him, he was able to burst through and get the win. So going to be probably your post-time favorite, morning line favorite. Number 2 is White Palomino. This is Chad Brown and Flavian Pratt once again. Lost a heartbreaker to the horse we just discussed, Legend of Time, in that same race, the Pennine Stakes. This is just going to be his 4th career start, and we'll be looking to turn the tables on his rival. So going to be interesting, those 2 hooking up again. And speaking of hooking up, post number 3 is Royal Majesty. That's Bill Mott, trained, Junior Alvarado rides. A 3rd place horse in the Pennine. He faced serious traffic issues around that turn. He had to check up, reroute, zigzag a little bit, and then set down late and was closing well. So, and then also a well-bred coat, should appreciate the extra distance. So just adding more intrigue to the mix. And in addition to adding more intrigue, we got post number 4, which is Trickery. trained by Graham Motion and ridden by John Velasquez, surprised everyone at big odds in the Grade 2 American Turf on Kentucky Derby Day, and then came back off that effort with a really strong run in the Penn Mile. Just lost a head bob, came in third by a neck. And it was hit the stretch in the lead, but was just caught by First World War, who finished second in the American Derby at Churchill Downs, his next race out. So Trickery really coming into his own for Grand Motion. And now the most intriguing horse, in my opinion, of this race, post number 5 is Endlessly, trained by Mike McCarthy, and we'll have Umberto Rispoli aboard. I was really high on this horse. He won back-to-back races at Turfway on the Derby Trail, including a really great closing effort in the Jeff Ruby. He just didn't have it in the Kentucky Derby, as many horses do. So it's back to the turf for the 3-year-old colt. And the move he made, like he did in the Jeff Ruby around that final turn, is how this race is going to be won, in my opinion. So he hit the turn hard and drove home down the stretch on the all-weather track. So it's going to be tough to say. He hasn't run on the turf in some time. So we'll see how he does. All right, let's get into past performances. Okay, Belmont Derby, 9.5, mile and 3/16. Grade 1, 3-year-olds fold. This is interesting. Fold after August 1st, 2020, and before July 31st, 2021. So obviously no Lasix, 48 hours, all that kind of stuff. But you can see where the speed figures are. You need good middle speed and enough late kick, total speed 97. So Legend of Time faltered in the American Turf. That was the first off the trip to Dubai. And we attributed it to maybe a little bit softer turf. Maybe just not at his best. This was the race won by Trickery, but he gave way down the stretch, going a mile and a 16th. Then came back and won the mile and an eighth by a head in the Pennine Ridge. So I think we should see a move forward, but I don't know what the speed figures are going to be because he really didn't get a very high rating for that Grade 2 victory. So Godolphin, Charlie Appleby, William Buick. I mean, it has to be respected. So White Palomino, obviously you have to respect Chad Brown whenever he brings a horse to the turf, and Pratt winning at 24%. He's 24% with these early pressing types, 19% on the turf, just coming off that close second place. So probably ready to go. Hot combo, 4 wins and 6 starts over the last 2 weeks for this group. So definitely a force to be reckoned with. But then you got Royal Majesty. So did that traffic trouble and belated. Is this horse an up-and-comer that we don't really know about? Mott's 21% in graded stakes, working sharply. So this one is also one to be looked at. And then, of course, Trickery. I think that the weather is going to determine a lot of this because I like the Oscar Performance. These last 2 horses are sired by the same horse, so they're half brothers, Trickery and Endlessly. And I think I'll back these 2 if it's pulled off the turf and it goes back to dirt. So that's kind of where I sit with that. I mean, 15% mud, 52 starts. That's pretty solid numbers there. So Grand Motion, Mike McCarthy. I really, really want to see Endlessly run well. I just don't know if this is the race. It might be just to see how he does because he's got his first 4 starts were at a mile on the turf. He won 3 of the first 4. He won Grade 3 events. So I don't know why he wouldn't just jump right to back to the turf and be good. So it could be a horse to back for the win. I don't know if these works look very good or not. 5 furlongs at 102, 102. So I think we might need to see one from him before we pass judgment. So any of these 5 could win the race. Like I said, I think Trickery seems to like that softer ground, softer turf, but it didn't really look like the preference for Legend of Time. It's just kind of my eyeball test. And like I said, I think we might still need to see one from Endlessly. So off the turf, those two, Trickery and Endlessly, I think move forward. I think they don't get the rain and it's a nice firm turf course, Legend of Time rolls. That's kind of the way I'm going to play it. So I'm going to wait to actually make my bets. But if you need selections, I kind of put Trickery on top because I think this horse has still got more to offer. And I do think there's going to be enough rain to soften the turf up a bit, which would be to his advantage. So moving on. Race number 8 is the grade 2 Nehrud. This is a 7 furlong dirt sprint for 4-year-olds and up. Number 1 is Ever So Mischievous, and that's trained by Brad Cox, ridden by Tyler Gaffleone. 4-year-old debut was quite successful, 100K optional claiming victory at 8 furlongs at May 31st at Churchill Downs. A very quick break from the one post. It had a really nice pressing trip to the outside, tipped 4 wide. Then T-Gaff slid down into the 2-path for the final drive and got clear. So we're cutting back to 7 furlongs. In addition to this being the second off the layoff, puts him in a really great spot, I think. Number 2 is 90% Maddie, trained by Robert Reed. Jose Lescano rides. Jose is one of the better jockeys at Aqueduct every year, so nothing wrong with him riding. A couple of second place finishes in recent graded stakes. No match for Baby Yoda in that True North, but did bobble at the start and got off slow. So I think 90% Maddie, if it had about an 80% effort in that race. So if we can get her to 90%, Maddie's going to be well off and even better. So post number 3 is Prevalence. Brendan Walsh, trainer. Irad Ortiz has the best jockey and a good trainer, but showing some speed in the last 2. 6-year-old Gelding hasn't had much graded stakes success. Hopefully he'll get out there up front and provide us some pace. So that brings us to post number 4, which is Coastal Mission. Jeff Runco is the trainer, and Arn Bocachica is the jockey. Showed really good speed in the grade 3 Salvatore Mile. Did everything right. Had the outside rival beat down the stretch. Fought him off. I think it was the 4 horse, but just inside was number 2 Bright Future. Just passed him right on the inside, and you can see the horse seeing Bright Future passing him and going, ugh, and then trying to redirect his anger toward that horse to catch him, but it was just too little too late. Once he was passed, it was over with. But I figure he ran this top speed figure at this distance back in April, going 7 furlongs. But this race was just 3 weeks ago. So I don't know if wheeling back off 3 weeks rest is going to be good for such a great effort. But we'll have to see. Post number 5 is Mulligan, and this is Rod Brissett is the trainer. Flavian Pratt, he gets Flavian Pratt to ride this one. 4-year-old son of violence, purchased for $500K at the Keeneland in 21. So this one has solid speed figures as well, moving up in class. 7 furlong win at Churchill, then previous 6 furlong win. So the switch to Pratt, and fun fact I'll share when we look at past performances. So let's do that right now. Okay, this is the John Nehrud Stakes, grade 2, $200,000 purse, 7 furlong sprint, 1 turn. Ever So Mischievous, I think should improve, but I don't know if the speed figures, because they're asking for a 102 for the par here, 107 in the middle, and 98 for the late. So you can see he's well short of that in the last 3 outings. Hasn't run one of those since a 2-year-old, but he can get there. So we know the numbers are there, can get to 100, as he was progressing across his 2-year-old season or 3-year-old season. I take that back. He's now a 4-year-old making just his second start off the layoff. So we're already halfway through the year. And as a 4-year-old should be pretty mature. So I like the one post. I like Brad Cox. I like T-Gaff. All things point to a good effort here. So then we have 90% Maddie, which is the closing style. I don't know that is going to be suited for this. I feel like there's going to be more of an early pressing type sprint race, but you never know. We don't know what the track conditions is going to be. So if it is a sloppier track, you could see more off the pace type of running, but really hasn't had very much success in the mud. So that's not good news. Mile and the 16th off the turf on this one in the mud, and just really not good. But I think that's really, really high class. I mean, beating favorite too, 0.20. That's not good at all. Forced the pace and gave way. But that was a long time ago. Different horse now. So 21% trainer, second in the last race, working sharp, good 4 furlong, 47. That's a good breeze at Parks, which is Parks is kind of like a speed favoring type of track. So that's good. That's a good work coming into this one. So we'll need to make a big jump, but I think is in tune to clean up the pieces if we do get a contested pace. Prevalence, I think, is going to be the one that will set that pace. It's got really good early speed, got 98s and 94s against lesser competition, and going 6 furlongs, and did run in second in the mud. So interesting horse, but I am probably going to toss. Coastal Mission, this is, like I said, June 15th, and we're going to be going on the 6th of July, which is right at 3 weeks break for such a big race, late pace 101. Kind of hard to repeat that kind of an effort, I would say, but has run a 105. That's interesting. And will be a little bit lighter, as is another one. Ran 122 last race and down to 118 for this one. So that's always helpful. Just a few less pounds. Same thing with Mulligan. Ran at 123 and now back down to 118, which is good. And an upgrade over. See, Pratt has already rode him once to his highest speed rating in this allowance race right here. So that's one of the things I liked about it. 18% shipper with Brissett, highest last race speed rating, high percent jockey, 7 furlongs, should be able to run out front if need be. So might be a wire to wire deal if we don't have an off track. But even if we do, I still like his mud percentages, 16% with this 951 starts. That's still not bad. Out of violence, or I mean by violence. This violence is the sire. Same horse that sired Forte. So I like this horse. I'm going by just the amount of money they paid for him also. So big time connections there. So let's finalize our selections and get out of here. So I am going to go with number 5, Mulligan, as my top selection here. I think he's fast enough. I think he's got the best jockey. I think he's got solid breeding. Everything lines up, and I think he'll be good value. Next up, I waffled over Coastal Mission with wheeling back on 3 weeks, and number 1, Ever So Mischievous. I still think he might need one more race to improve. I think he'd be jumping 2 legs, so to speak, to run such a big race that would be fast enough to win this. 90% Maddie. I was pretty impressed with that effort she showed in her last race. Actually bobbling at the start and falling behind early. She came from way back. So I think she's a definite use underneath. So Ever So Mischievous could surprise. I think could hit the board easily. And number 4, Coastal Mission. Obviously, they're all right there. So that's going to do it for the show today. I'm going to do the Belmont Oaks as a separate video because there's more contenders in that video, and it deems, I think, necessary to cover that one in just a single video. So subscribe to the channel, smash the like. Till next time, see you soon.